Voting is an opportunity for voices to be heard. It's one of our most important freedoms. Voting isn't just a right, it's a privilege, and the power to speak up and choose people that represent your values and beliefs. KCAT TV is proud to present Coffee and Candidates, one-on-one interviews to introduce candidates running for council in Los Gatos and Monte Sereno. Let's welcome our host, Dr. Larry Gerston.
Hi, I'm Larry Gerston. Let's have coffee with the candidates. Come on in. Welcome to Coffee and Candidates, brought to you by the Los Gatos Community Foundation, the Tour Factory, and the Los Gatos Coffee Roasting Company. Also, let's not forget, we're here in the KCAT studios, and of course we couldn't have done it without our sponsors or KCAT, so we thank them all. And with us today, we have a candidate for the Los Gatos Town Council, Larry Maggio. Happy to have you here. We're glad of that. And you are running for a 4-year term,
yes,
correct?
That's correct.
2 seats at 4 and 1 at 2, and you're running for one of the 4-year seats. So take a minute or two and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm born and raised here in the Valley. I'm actually third generation to the St. Clair Valley. Wow. And so I've got a lot of history of, being here, watching the area grow from the orchards to what we have now. And, I joined the military, was in there for 10 years. I was a business owner for a short time. And then for the last almost 22 years, I've been with AT&T.
And what do you do for
And I'm in the telecommunication operations for the West Valley, West area of San Jose. And it includes part of Los Gatos, Saratoga, Cupertino. Problem solver.
Good.
I go out there and solve the issues that they're having with the networks.
I love it. Larry Maggio, problem solver. I hope that's on your business card.
If it's not, it better be.
It should be, yeah. That's great. That's great. You ran for the council 2 years ago.
Yes.
Town council.
I did for 2018. I also did for 2016.
Okay.
And there was incumbents running, and it was a learning experience. The last time we met, I explained how the learning experience from the first election was. The second one, it was a little more laxed. It was just the 4 of us running, and we pretty much knew that the incumbents were probably going to take the seats, which is usually they're favorable. Right. That's how it worked out.
So we listened to this story, and it's such a great story because it's a story of persistence, and that's a valuable commodity, I think, for people. I'm going to do this. I want to do this. Why? What's pushing Larry Maggio?
I enjoy helping my community. I enjoy doing the things I do, even with the Veterans Organization. I've been the commander for the last 3.5 years with the American Legion. I'm now holding a first vice commander seat for the District of Santa Clara County, and was recently appointed the commissioner's position for the area, which is Central California, for the oratorical contest, which works with the youth.
Yeah.
And I'm also a commissioner here in Los Gatos on the personnel board, which is it's a very important position. We don't really get called up too much for it, but it is a very, very important position. I enjoy doing what I do. I've got the leadership behind me, the experience, and I'm thankful to be able to give that back to the community.
And you're so right. When you do something like run for something and it doesn't turn out, all the lessons you learn along the way, it's almost like going to school, isn't it?
Every time.
Yeah.
This election so far has been another learning curve because now we don't have incumbents running.
Right.
And we've got 5 running for the 4-year term for the 2 seats. And it's been really interesting to see how far we've gotten so far in dealing with the pandemic, dealing with the wildfires, all those things have been happening. It's put a twist to the entire process.
Right. So I guess you're not able to go door to door very easily.
No.
Yeah. So what kinds of things are you doing, learning? I keep thinking about learning. Boy, it's helped me when I've done things that haven't worked out. I go back again. What lessons did you walk away with that you're going to do something differently this time?
Being more transparent, more communicative with the community, which we've established using the electronics, the technology. in my field of work, that's what I deal with is the communications for the internet. More people are working from home. So this gives me an opportunity to really get out there and transmit what I've got to say to them, let them know who I am, and be transparent.
Yeah, that's super. So, should you win, tell me what your one or two big issues are. When I get on the council, I'm going to work for or work toward whatever. What do you want to see done?
Traffic has always been the number one issue.
Yeah, we could spend a day on that.
We can go, and longer. Parking, which helps, if we can solve some of the parking issues, it'll help revitalize the downtown area.
Okay, let's take those two.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. What is it about traffic you think needs to be done and to make this a place for us to get around easier?
Well, there's always creative ideas that we can always come up with. I know last year that they worked on the one-way on Santa Cruz Avenue, but it's always going to be a problem of mitigating that traffic issue. Widening up Highway 17 is probably the number one thing that needs to happen for the town of Los Gatos. I know the people want it. I know it would help out the town tremendously if we can just get more vehicles through Highway 17. One other issue is the trucks that go over Highway 17. The speed limit for the trucks going over is 35 miles per hour. A lot of times they can't even get to that speed because they have a full load trying to get uphill. And that's the most dangerous road in California. So if we can maybe put time frames on the trucks to go over, that would be beneficial to the commuter traffic, because a lot of people are looking for ways to get around the traffic. They use the Waze programs or the Google Maps, whatever, and that creates directions for them to go through our town, through our city streets, which creates a public safety hazard. A lot of members of the community have said, Larry, I can't even get to my house. I have to park down the street and walk to my house, or I can't get out of the driveway.
Yes, I've seen that.
So if there's a call for safety, for public safety, could it be police, fire, ambulance? If the traffic's backed up, how are they supposed to get to these folks?
Let's go to the other issue, parking. Downtown parking, I guess we're talking about, right?
Yes.
And believe me, I've heard plenty of people complain about parking. Although sometimes their complaints are because they have to walk a block. So that's part of it too. But what do you see as solving the parking problem?
Some ideas that I come up with, maybe put in a parking garage, and more so something that can be utilized when we have our high flow of traffic that comes in and wants to utilize our downtown. And I know we have the high school students with their parking issues using the community areas of side streets and stuff. Maybe put in a parking structure behind the high school in that parking area. And what that will allow to do is the students can park there, and then when they're not in school, and then we have a weekend event, or people come here for music in the park, or there's some event going on downtown, the community can use that parking lot. A lot of people do like walking a few blocks. A lot of people don't. We can have some type of a shuttle system that also will be incorporated. Another idea I have is meter parking between Santa Cruz and University, where the parking lots are back there. Let the community know. We have 25, 30 spaces available here. Where the parking lot's full, they already know when they pull up. They see the sign that says the parking lot's full.
Full, yeah.
So that's another idea.
How does this interface with the tendency now for restaurants to extend their service areas onto the street on Santa Cruz Avenue? I mean, that in itself cuts out parking, right? I mean,
yes.
We know the restaurants are in trouble and we need to give them the space, but how do you get around that?
I think the parklets that they put in so far, we have temporary with the K-rails. We also have the permanent ones that are put in. Yeah, it does take away those parking spots, but it also vitalizes the businesses, such as the restaurants. People can dine out there. That's been a good thing so far, but the other part of it is because I've experienced going to these restaurants and sitting out there, the noise factor, the cars going by, and the fumes. We have the strictest smoking laws here in Los Gatos, yet we have all these fumes we're breathing in when we're sitting down trying to enjoy a meal.
This is a big question, parking. It's so big, I think we're going to talk about it a little bit more after the break. So hold on one second, if you would, please, because we're going to segue into a little commercial message, if you could call it that, from Sharon Childs, who is the head of the Los Gatos Community Foundation.
Thanks, Larry. Hi, I'm Sharon Childs, Los Gatos Community Foundation president. I'm here in Oak Meadow Park by a historic bandstand gazebo where our history started in 1991. We fund local nonprofits for projects that they do to enhance our community. We also give out community service scholarships to our seniors at our 3 local high schools. The Los Gatos Community Foundation is proud to be sponsoring this Coffee and Candidates series.
Welcome back. We're talking with Larry Maggio, a candidate for one of the 4-year terms on the Los Gatos Town Council. November 3rd, it's around the corner. So conversations like this, we hope, will help you become a little bit more engaged and informed about how you might want to vote on November 3rd. We were talking about parking, which is probably one of the issues that comes to everybody's mind here. And we were talking about the parklets and whatnot. What about shutting down that street and making two-way traffic on University? How does that hit you?
I've said this before. My last time we met was the thoroughfares going through Los Gatos. We've only got so many, and I've said it before, it's like a heart, and you have arteries, and you need to get the blood flowing through those arteries. But if we restrict those, cut them off, that's not going to allow that blood to flow too well. And the vehicles going through downtown, yeah, so, some people have said it's a good idea. Some have said, no, don't close it down. For me, the safety hazard, I think about the safety of our citizens. Mm-hmm. And the emergency personnel that might utilize Santa Cruz Avenue to get up to an unplanned event, maybe up on Highway 17. They're going to utilize that roadway, University, Main, all that.
Sure.
And my concern is really the safety aspect and getting the cars through. Parking-wise, utilizing that center area of between Santa Cruz and University would really benefit if we can put some type of metering parking system. Mm-hmm. And then I'm looking at practical ideas.
Let's stay with parking one more time and talk about what's going on at the North 40, where the build out of the first half, the south part of the North 40, is taking place now. And it was scheduled that the developer would put in a 127 car parking structure, underground parking structure. He now says that they don't want to. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are the plans have been set in stone. It was approved by the council after the litigation of lawsuit that took place. The developer needs to stand up to the plans that was already put in place. It would put an impact onto the community areas of there. Plus, I think it would take away from the shopping areas for their parking. People want to go and park and just go right to the stores or the shops and what they have there. And without that structure there to accommodate those vehicles, either they're not going to show up to go there as often, or they're going to, if everybody shows up there, they're going to find other areas to have to park in, and that's going to impact the community.
Okay. Before we go, we've a couple of big ballot issues, Measures A and B for Los Gatos residents. Measure A, of course, dealing with the Finance Commission. What are your thoughts about that?
Measure A, the Finance Commission, I think is a really good idea.
Because?
Because it's an oversee of the citizens be involved with the government, and they're able to advise the council from an outsider's point. These are going to be professional people, CPAs, trained accountants, certified accountants, that's going to give advice and recommendations to the council to help the council even work better for their budgetary items.
You think the council needs that kind of help?
I think everything that helps out in the financial part. They have the unfunded pension liabilities. They're up since June 15 about 48%, and it's still growing.
Right.
And ideas that come out from the community are really good. One idea was to take some surplus funds that we have, the emergency surplus funds, use those for some investments, and we get a return on it that'll help pay down the unfunded pensions. If the investments start going a little awry, they can always pull out and reserve that money, so when it's a good time to invest again, it's there. Kind of a safety net, but it's something that's practical.
Okay. How about Measure B, term limits? Your thoughts?
I've always been in favor of term limits.
Because?
Because it gives the community, once again, more opportunities to serve the community, more opportunities to come in. We talked about it before. It's when you have incumbents running, they're always favorable to win. And you get incumbents that go 4 or 5 terms, that's 16, 20 years of being on the council. We've got other leaders and brilliant people in Los Gatos, and they're not going to run for a position if they know there's no chance.
Some people say that having term limits is sort of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, that there's some brilliant people who are there who are willing to serve. We know people don't serve for the money. They serve because they really want to give to the community, and that these people are so good. Why should they be chased out after 8 years? What do you think about that?
I don't think they're being chased out.
Replaced. Let's use that word.
Okay. The major cities, most of them have term limits, and once again, it's the not having somebody there for so long, giving the other community members a piece of the city, a piece of the town. Have them involved, and I don't think it's throwing the baby water out or whatever. It's more of getting the community more involved.
Are you okay with the fact that after 2 years that somebody who wasn't incumbent can jump back into the race for another seat? That's part of the proposition.
I don't agree with that too much. If they drop out, they resign, unless there's a valid reason.
Right. But even with that issue, you'd vote for Measure B.
Measure B, I'm 100% for term limits. There should be a term limit, 2 terms. Let somebody else take the reins.
You talked about money. We've talked about finances for quite a bit of this discussion. You're aware, of course, of the problems with COVID-19 and what it's done to state and local budgets. They've been dependent upon, for example, sales taxes locally. Things like that, and we know the state's not able to give the kind of money to local governments for various reasons, various uses that it has in the past. Do you worry that Los Gatos is going to have to either cut services or raise some kind of tax?
No, I think we've had enough. We have reserves, and I think they're being utilized in the right way. I know 1.9 million was diverted to help out the community, and it's been working very well. I think we, as Los Gatos, being a community that's pretty tight with each other, they're supporting our businesses, they're supporting the workers. A lot of people are at home not spending as much money because that's been a key thing. I work out in the field all the time, and I see the different other communities, and this COVID-19 is changing the footprint of how people are working, their family lives at home, and the communities they live in. And Los Gatos is one of them too.
Yeah.
It's changing the course of life for all of us.
Yeah, we're going to have to go through it for a little bit longer, that's for sure. Last question. We know what you want to do. What is it that you want to prevent from being done when you get on the council?
Defunding of the police. I do not want to defund the police. If anything, I want more transparency and more training for the officers. Being that I was in law enforcement in the military, and I trained here locally through our colleges and through the academy. The training that they have, they are professionals. They know what they're doing. Reforming them, it's to modify, change some of the things they do. But they've got programs. We had a workshop last week, and Chief DeCina was talking about the program to identify children that have autism or special needs and have them in a database. So when an officer goes out, he knows that this situation here has got a child with autism, and I have an autistic son that's now 26 years old. And growing up with him, I would take him to the store, not to go shopping, it was to expose him to the sounds and get him used to that. And sometimes I would have to cocoon him because he would get overstimulated.
Yeah.
And when that happened, somebody might call the police.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have that in the system, which they didn't at the time, I had to carry a card. And they would have to retrieve the card and say, oh, he's got an autistic son, and this is what he's doing.
Do you think, just to follow up on that for a second, do you think that there are some issues the police are called for that maybe a social worker or a psychiatrist or somebody with training should go instead of the police? Are the police overused?
No. The police is the first line. The police goes out and recognizes what the situation is. One is to render the safety. He wants the safety of the community. So he goes and reassures that the community is safe, because an officer never knows what he's getting into until he goes there and finds out what it really is. If it's a mental issue that needs to be dealt with, there's professionals trained that could be on call.
Okay.
And he makes the call, they dispatch him out, and they handle the situation appropriately.
Well, Larry Maggio, you know what you're getting into.
Yes.
And we're grateful for you taking the time to come meet with us and let people over there know what you're into. So that'll do it for this session, Coffee and Candidates. We hope to see you soon. Take care.